So, I just got back from NAMM, the world's largest music trade show.
What are you going to talk about? I don't know. All right.
Hey.
Well, hey.
Thousands of music brands come from around the world to show off their newest creations. As a multi-instrumentalist who geeks out about new instruments and technology, this should have been my Disneyland, which is appropriate given that Disneyland is like 100 feet from the convention. But it wasn't. As a YouTuber who creates content based off of showing off new instruments, this should have been a bastion of free content. But it wasn't. Something just wasn't right. As most music YouTubers have already created their NAMM 2026 videos, I've been on a pause. The video I intended to make where I gushed about the experience, the instruments, everything I learned, just hasn't materialized. As I sit here writing the script to this video a week after coming home, I think I'm finally coming to terms with why. So, what happened? Well, to explain that, I need to quickly show off 3 of the hottest new instruments showed off at NAMM. I'll just be leaving out one tiny, barely important detail. Is it going? All right. Welcome to NAMM. We are here today and I'm standing in front of a bunch of crazy drums and loud noises, and that's probably what the next 5 days are gonna be. Should be a good time. The first instrument on our list to talk about was literally one of the first instruments I happened to see at the convention. It was also one of the coolest, a brand new Iwi from Roland. My first booth, and I didn't make it 2 steps before I found something that I actually wanted to take a look at. This is the like new-ish, I think, is that right? Pretty new, yeah. The Roland Brisa, am I saying that right?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. Essentially an Iwi, but flute layouted for the flute players amongst you who, don't want the standard saxophone layout that everything else has. She was nice enough to explain how to play it. Instead of adjusting your wind to play different octaves like on a normal flute, the Brisa has 2 separate holes you blow into, one for the top and one for the bottom octaves. That leads you to twisting the flute while you play it, which I kind of got to work after a minute. I'm not good at it, but I'm sure it's easier with practice. Probably. That's cool. Very cool. So after checking out the Brisa, which was kind of just outside in the hallway, we wandered into the convention hall itself. The sheer volume of stuff happening was insane, as was the sheer volume. I did have an instrument on my list to check out though, because it seemed to be one of the most hyped of the entire convention. I know this because I was invited to a fancy media-only event where companies tried to woo us with their hottest new announcements. We have finally arrived to our first real sort of thing at NAMM 2026. This is the Global Media Day, which is the day that they come to all the fancy media representatives, and they try to woo us into all their fancy new gear. One of these announced instruments was an acoustic synthesizer, the Korg Phase 8. This device is a first of its kind that bridges the gap between acoustic and digital sound, which they seem to think is a really big deal. So I figured the next day I'd better track one of these down on the floor and try it myself. I played with it for a while and kinda still don't understand it. I don't know what I'm doing is what I do.
You do you, man. Sounds cool.
But it seemed cool. If there's something I can understand, it's a percussion instrument. And that's what our last instrument was. But not just any percussion instrument, it's a digital handpan. You may have seen one of these out in the wild before, but the Neotone has taken this crazy form factor and created a digital version. Not only does it sound awesome and it's a joy to play, but you can also customize the sounds and use it as a MIDI controller. They also talked about all the crazy tech that they created to make the whole thing touch sensitive, not just the pads. I basically had to stop myself from grabbing one and just sprinting back home to South Dakota. So, 3 super cool instruments. What could I possibly have against these 3 awesome instruments? Well, I'll never be able to justify the price to get one. The Phase 8 was the cheapest, coming in at only $1,150. That's a ton of money. And the instrument is also the most impractical of the 3. I'm all for pushing the envelope of music creation by bridging the digital and physical worlds, but I wasn't really convinced of this thing's purpose for anything more than wild experimentation. I love wild experimentation, but can you really justify $1,150 for it? I just don't see this device solving any existing problems. The Brisa actually does solve a problem. There really aren't any flute EWIs. Most EWIs are geared towards saxophone players with their ergonomics and fingering layouts. This one is specifically built to play and feel like a flute, which is fantastic. This was a gap in the market that Roland has filled with the Brisa. Good job, Roland. It's also over $1,700. It's actually their most expensive EWI controller, even though it only comes with 1/3 of the sounds of their AE30. They took something they'd already made, tweaked the form factor, stripped some features, and raised the price. The Neotone, on the other hand, now that's an instrument I've never seen. An electric hand pan with innovative technologies from a small company I've never even heard of. I want one. The cheapest model is $3,200. Man, I'm not even mad at it. I just can't justify getting one. It's not like NAMM didn't have any affordable instruments, but they were hidden, and nobody was really talking about them. 2 examples were a pocket clarinet from Buffet Crampon and the Zip Kit drum set by Nuvo. The pocket clarinet was hidden amongst the rest of Buffet Crampon's instruments, and I kind of just happened to see it after my 3rd or 4th time walking past their booth. On the other hand, the Nuvo didn't even have anyone at their booth to ask questions about their stuff at all. Their instruments were kind of just sitting in a corner. But I assume that they're affordable? There just seemed to be no hype or fanfare around anything instrument related that were on the cheaper end of things. With things going the way that they are in the economy, I would have loved to see some innovations when it comes to affordability. I get hyped about things I can actually see a human use in real life. Had Yamaha released a sub $500 saxophone, it would have been the most hyped thing at the convention. But instead, they have the gall to call an almost $3,000 instrument a student-level saxophone. That's what a 5th grader needs, a piece of equipment they can bring back and forth from school every day that's worth more than double my previous yearly band budget. But you know, something that could have fallen into my budget was the On-Stage percussion table, which is our sponsor for today's video. As a percussionist, I find it very important to inform all of the band directors out there that if you don't have a percussion table for your band yet, it's time. A few features that make this one unique. This bad boy is capable of holding up to 25 pounds. And not only is it height adjustable, but you can also adjust the angle of the table itself. That's a feature you don't always see on percussion tables, and it actually makes it fantastic for storing. And while it has raised edges around the sides, which is great because it keeps your equipment safe, the front does not have a raised edge, which I really like because it makes it easy to pull and put your equipment back on. And it also makes it fantastic to use as a computer table. And while the top does angle if you want it to, it's still very sturdy when it's tightened down. And if you are looking for a percussion table or something else from On-Stage, you can be sure that you'll find it at Sweetwater Music. Thank you again to On-Stage and Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. Let's go back to NAMM. Being out of touch with reality wasn't only subjected to instruments at NAMM. AI was everywhere at NAMM. There were 47 sessions at NAMM under the tag AI. That's in contrast to 7 under advocacy and 32 under education. I can understand it though. AI is the new buzz, and musicians should probably be aware of what's new and how it works. In fact, some of the biggest hype was around new products utilizing AI. Now, I'm not anti-AI, but I've got mixed feelings on its use in music. And there were 2 products that perfectly show that contrast. First, we've got Fender with their newly announced Fender Studio Pro. Studio Pro is a DAW that allows you to do all of the DAW things that you would expect from every other DAW, like Logic Pro or Ableton, Pro Tools, or Studio One, which makes sense given that Fender's Studio Pro was built on top of Studio One. However, on top of adding a bunch of Fender amp plugins and gear to Studio One, Fender announced a new AI tool that allows you to take any audio data and AI magically turn it into MIDI data. This is the kind of AI tech I can get behind. It's not creating anything for you. It's just taking something you've already created and making it easier to work with. It solves a problem. Those guitar chords you just recorded into a microphone? It's really out of tune. You've now got MIDI data for it. That vocal line you just threw down? Darling, kiss me, I'm off the thing. MIDI. Saxophone solo? Actually, it doesn't do saxophone yet. Just kidding, MIDI. On the flip side, we've got Roland's Project Lydia. Without getting too much into the weeds, Project Lydia is basically an AI pedal. It's running a fancy algorithm that can be trained on basically any sound you want. Then you plug something into it and it essentially combines the two sounds together. For example.
So this is a screaming metal vocal model. It's very fun. You can have hours just playing like this. It's amazing fun. That's a little bit of what Project Lydia can sound like.
Now, I'm not trying to critique the sound that it's creating. In their defense, this is still only a beta project and it's not actually for sale yet. My issue with it is what it's actually doing and how it does it. Project Lydia uses Morpho from Newtone, which is, in their words, a real-time tone morphing plugin powered by advanced machine learning technology. Input sounds are resynthesized into a totally different sound whilst keeping the overall shape of the sound intact. In my friend Mason's words, they've created an AI paintbrush. Essentially, you may be holding the brush, but you have no idea what color or texture is going to be coming out. You can make the same brush stroke twice and have two completely different outcomes. How much control are we okay with giving up for the sake of whatever problem Project Lydia is promising to solve? Regardless of all this, I can't say that NAMM wasn't a positive experience. While it's easy to be blinded by all of the lights, the sounds, and the tech of the convention, I can easily say my favorite thing about NAMM was the people. I got to talk to some fantastic folks I would have never otherwise had the chance to talk to. Feeling the passion behind every conversation was so exciting. I even had the chance to see some huge music YouTubers out in the wild. I can now say that I've had Rick Beato on my channel. Thank you. I even had a few people randomly come up to me to tell me how much they liked my channel.
Oscar, I just saw your recent one about the alto flute.
Yeah, that's your.
I'm a flute player.
I'm not gonna lie to you. You are literally the first person I've ever had out in the wild say that. That's crazy. Yeah, yeah, no. Which was completely new for me, and it still kind of blows my mind. I got to hang out with my best friend Mason for a week in California.
There he goes, getting those wings. There we go. I got my 2 a.m. video now. Oh yeah, dude. What's up? 2 a.m.
Mason, thank you for being my cameraman. I guess the thing at NAMM that I discovered wasn't a huge noteworthy instrument or groundbreaking new way to mix a beat. It was the answer to the question, what is music to me?
Come on, girl.
Music is people.
Everybody's enjoying.
And people should have access to it. It can be made on any instrument, whether it's a $3,000 Yamaha student saxophone or just singing in your shower. It's also something that can bring people together, which I think NAMM is a great example of. Thank you to Onstage and Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. If you liked this video, make sure you go down and hit like and subscribe. It really does help the channel. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. I don't actually know if I'm going to be going to NAMM next year because it's really expensive. So if you want to see more videos kind of like this one, helping support the channel like this is super helpful. In my friend Mason's words, it's an AI toothbrush. Also, thank you to my wife Jenna for letting me go on that trip. Did I do it? I did it!